One very important practice that's spoken of in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is that of practicing the truth. I believe they call it satya. So it's practicing the truth. And by that, we can think about many different things. We can think about the idea of practicing truth in our words, in our speech. We can think about practicing truth in learning to contemplate and understand and know what is true, actually, fully and completely true. We can also consider truth in regards to being true to ourselves and those people around us. So practicing truth isn't just about speech. It's really about truth in as many facets as we can conceive of it. Now, why do we practice truth from a yogic or mystical point of view? Because the more we are in line with speaking the truth, telling the truth as best we know it, and if you don't know the truth, keep your mouth shut. But speaking the truth as best we know it, or otherwise keeping quiet, what that does is it allows us to gain insight into what is true. It allows us to get the actual, if you will, bodily feeling of truth. In the same way that, think about when you've told a lie. How do you feel inside when you have told that lie? Or think about that time where you've had a great realization and the truth has dawned on you, how freeing and uplifting that was. That's an actual physical response. So truth, it's not just words, it's an actual resonance, state of being, if you will. So the more you're able to practice speaking the truth, the more you will recognize truth when you see it, when you hear it, when you feel it, and when you read it. And this is part of the mystical idea of practicing truth. It's so important. That way, when someone speaks to you, whether they're a 5-year-old kid or whether they're a 80-year-old sage, you will know if they are telling the truth to you for your personal life situation experience. So therefore, you become less dependent on having to validate yourself through others. So this is why the speech aspect is so important. Now remember, this doesn't mean that you are unkind. And it doesn't even mean that you have to respond to things you don't want to. Because truth is meant to communicate as clearly and effectively as possible. And some things don't need to be spoken about. Just hands down, they don't need to be. Okay? Just because someone asks you a question does not mean you have to respond. Because sometimes you can't. And sometimes silence in many situations is really the best response. You know, sometimes when people ask me questions about spiritual matters, when I know that there's no words that will suffice to answer that, I just don't say anything, or I change the subject. Because how many times do you need someone to say words can't handle it? And they think, oh, well, you know, there's mystical babble, so let's not even explore this path anymore. But anyway, so this idea of truth in words. So if someone asks you a question and you can respond truthfully, do so. If you don't really know the answer, or it's not appropriate for you to respond, just keep your mouth shut. It's as easy as that. And in time, this will teach you to feel what it feels like to know truth. And you will know when something comes into your life that is untruthful or not for you. You know, we have all these fads, you know, don't eat this food, eat that food, do this, don't do that. This is a holy person, that's not a holy person. This is good, this is bad. Well, at the end of the day, you have to, for yourself, learn to feel the truth of the matter. And the more you practice truth, the more you speak truth as best you can to your ability, the more you will have inner knowing and guidance in this regard. Now, truth is also important in regards to being yourself. Why are you the way you are? Why do you want to get into spirituality? Is it because someone told you it's good for you? It would save your soul? Why do you dress the way you do? Why do you wear Rudraksha beads? Why do you try to take on an Indian name? Is it because you think it's going to make you more spiritual and holy? Maybe it is you. Maybe at the end of the day, that's just something you've always been about. Okay? But you have to question yourself, are you doing this because you want to fit in and you want validation from someone else? Did you stop listening to your favorite music because someone else made you feel bad about it? Did you decide that you had to act a certain way because someone else said, you're a sinner? All right? If you're not hurting anyone and you're not hurting yourself, really, it's okay to be yourself. Many people are surprised when they talk with me about meditation and spirituality, and at the end they're often relieved because they'll come with this idea that they have to act a certain way. And at this point, I wave them away and say, look, just be yourself. I'm like, I don't care if you cuss, I don't care if you eat chicken wings, I don't care what you do, as long as you can meditate well and you can contemplate deeply what is important to you spiritually speaking. If you can do those the rest of your life, I don't care about. I don't care if you go kayaking. I don't care if you gamble. I don't care what you do, as long as you are able to meditate well. And so in my life, in my experience, I meditate daily. I make sure to read my enjoyable spiritual books daily. I make sure to contemplate whatever question is on my mind when I'm going for walks or when I'm going for a drive. I'll even have my Rudraksha beads with me. For example, I went for a really long walk yesterday. I brought my Rudraksha beads, and throughout the whole walk, I just did mantras the whole time, because for me, that's enjoyable. I like doing that. And I don't do it so people see me doing it, because when people would come down the trail, I'd put them in my pocket so no one knew what I was doing. So again, you're not walking around trying to show people, oh, look, I've got my prayer beads and I'm just so wonderful. So whatever you do, make sure you're doing it because it's actually an expression of yourself. And the more you can accept who you are, realizing maybe you like playing video games for half hour, an hour every now and then. Well, if you've already meditated well, if you've already contemplated what you're meant to contemplate, you've exercised, you've ate well, everyone's happy in your household, you've paid your bills, well, who cares? Go play your video games, all right? If you want to go golfing, it doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, the more you can be yourself, the more at ease and peaceful you will be, and the better you will meditate. The better you will be able to contemplate, because you're not living up to some pretentious ideal. All right, so many of you, hopefully this will be helpful for you. Pretentious, don't be pretentious. Don't try to act a certain way because you think it's holy. Don't run around and when people say things like, oh, I did this, don't try to pull the whole Ramana Maharshi stuff and say, well, who is the I that did this? Because people don't care about that. Okay? If you want to wonder who is the I that did that, sure, but keep it to yourself. And the more you're able to be authentically yourself, the happier, more peaceful you will be, and the better your meditations will be. Always keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind. Now, you also need to be truthful and authentic with the people around you. Does that mean that you're rude? Does that mean that you say things because it's the truth and they need to hear it? Well, I guess if you really need to. But what I mean by that is, let's say someone invites you to a social gathering and you think to yourself, yeah, I'm not really going to enjoy that. So they ask you and you say, no, I don't really think I want to go. Now, you could be pretentious, or maybe that's not the right word in this situation, and think you don't want to hurt their feelings and on and on and on. So you go anyway, you waste your evening in a place that you're not happy with. And then you waste their time because now they think that they need to invite you to everything. But if you would just be honest and say, no, I don't really want to do that, then they'll know, hey, this person is being straight with me. And if you do it in such a way that you're not being judgmental or condescending, you're just stating your truth. This is not for me. Then in time, what happens is you start to find yourself surrounded by people that are in line with you, and you quit being frustrated about, why do I hang around these people that, don't really jive with my way of being? So you have to you have to be bold, and you have to take the time to honestly express what is true for you in regards to the people around you. Someone says something to you and you don't agree with them, well, let's not try to make them happy. Let's just be honest, because if you're friends, then it should be okay for you to disagree. So they say, yeah, no, I don't believe that. I don't really think that's true. And they say, yeah, but what about this? I'm like, well, yep, at the end of the day, I still don't think that. And I say, okay, well, let's move on. Family is a big one. We're going to have a particular topic on dealing with family. probably in this next video series. But again, why do we discuss these things? Why is this important? Because for your meditations to work well, for your contemplations to work well, you have to be aligned internally. And we have to remember that everything is this divine, infinite, abstract intelligence. And so you being you is not a problem. Because other people are being them and they're not a problem, right? I mean, sometimes I guess people being them can be a problem. But at the end of the day, what's most important is, are you being authentically you, not to be difficult, not to be problematic, but just because that's who you are, and then you let the environment adjust. And if the environment adjusts well, great. If it doesn't, you move on. That's it. So one of the key things, this satya, this truth, is number one, learning to speak the truth as best you can. Someone asks you a question, you respond as truthfully as possible. If it's not their business, if it's not going to be helpful, just keep your mouth shut. And people need to respect that too. Just because someone asks you a question doesn't mean that they have a right to your answer. You have your own boundaries that you can have there. This will develop psychic strength for you. The more you can be yourself. If you are a person that enjoys having short hair, dressing in the newest fad clothing, being stylish, and that's you, embrace it. That's fine. If you are a person that you care less about what you look like, that likes to grow your hair long, whatever it might be, and that's you, not because you want to be different, just because it's your natural expression of this divine infinite consciousness, do that. And again, the reason this is so important, because at the end of the day, you will know who are your authentic people in your life. Those people who don't judge you based on what you look like or the way you speak, but appreciate you from the inside out. Then you're going to have truthful, authentic relationships. Some people have said to me in the past, number one, why don't you smile more? That's a big one. Number two, they say, why aren't you more optimistic? Or they'll say, why don't you cut your hair and look more mainstream, because you'll do a lot better that way. And it makes me chuckle these days, because why? If people can't see through the external thing to what's real underneath of it, if they can't see through the meat suit, the body, well then they've got something they need to work on themselves, really. So whoever you are, however you dress, whatever you believe, whatever you love, at the end of the day, people are people. Whatever political views you have, that doesn't matter once you're dead. So if you're going to be here and you're going to have fun having adversarial political views, well, just knock yourself out with it. But remember, if it gets in the way of your capacity to meditate, in the way of your capacity to be truthful, in the way of your capacity to contemplate deeply the truth of your being, then you need to question that. All right. But otherwise, just play your role in this world, whatever that may be, whoever that may be. Whether you like same-sex marriages, or whether you're totally heterosexual, or whether you believe in guns or don't believe in guns, or whether you think this person's enlightened or that person's not enlightened, or whatever viewpoint you can have, they're all just viewpoints of this one infinite consciousness. And those are external things, right? You can enjoy them while they're there. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, what are you, and are you being truthful to yourself, to your spirituality, and are you being truthful to your role in this world? If that's so, your Kriya practices, your meditation practices will thrive. They will thrive. And it will be beautiful. And you'll be able to handle the despair when it comes, and you'll be able to appreciate the joy when it comes, all the while staying centered in and as the self. That's the key. So, can you do that? Can you practice truth? Make it a point. And even if you fail, that's okay. Just be honest with yourself. Say, well, I probably could have said something different there, and affirm next time you will. If you need to be more courageous about who you are as a unique expression of this divine infinite consciousness. Again, not to cause problems, just because it is your inspired self. Do it. Keep trying, keep working at it until it becomes as natural as breathing. And then you will be locked into the current of truthfulness. And you'll know what is true, and you'll know what is not true. And again, your meditations, your spirituality will thrive. And that's the key here. That's why this is so important.